Okay, let's get everything online here. Let's make sure we've got audio and video squared away. Okay, testing. 1, 2, test, test. Let me check the mic here. Okay, looks like the mic is working okay. Hopefully the background audio isn't too loud there. Let me see here. Okay. Let me go ahead and load up a few pieces of software in the background here. Alrighty, well, welcome fellow Kerbonauts. Welcome to Kerbal Space Program, the minimalist shuttle program brought to you by Rice and the amazing people at Squad who developed this incredible game here. And this week we are going to be talking about building another shuttle. And this time we are building the shuttle in the new 1.0 game. I know last week we streamed a shuttle building tutorial, but we did that on the beta. And it seemed a little bit redundant to do another shuttle building tutorial until we look at the specs of the new Kerbal Space Program 1.0 and we see the plethora of changes that have occurred as a result of the game's release. As you can see on the upper left-hand corner, we're going to be talking about the new Aerodynamics system, the new fuel engine modeling system, and believe it or not, they tweaked the ISP on it. They made it a little bit more realistic, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Re-entry and radiative heating is what we're also going to talk about too. So things are a little bit harder in this game. I guess harder is too strong of a word. Maybe more challenging. So what we're going to do is, because last week when we built our space shuttle, we built it using the B9 aerospace parts. Now, this game is still, the 1.0 version is still brand spanking new, which means not all the mods are really available that we had during the beta version. So we are going to be building a space shuttle mostly out of stock parts, and we will probably be using two mods. One, we're going to use the Tantares mod, which uses the stock-alike Soyuz parts, and we're really not going to use a whole lot of parts there. And we're also going to use the Infernal Robotics parts, and we're going to use those parts to help gimbal our engines during liftoff. And that's pretty much it. In terms of the mods, just two scanty little mods. As a matter of fact, we're probably only going to use maybe 1 or 2 parts per mod. So this is mostly going to be a stock shuttle. Now, if you've watched my minimalist shuttle series, you probably realize that I'm not a big fan of 3.75 size parts. Unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with here. We're going to use the 3.75 meter size parts this time. We're going to use these big suckers. I am used to using 2.5 meter size parts, which uses the mid-size tanks. You know, one of these guys, the orange tank, and this tank here, and these guys here. And I try to keep it as small as possible because we're trying to maintain the minimalist aspect of our space program. However, our hands are tied here. However, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We're going to build a 3.75 meter size shuttle using mostly stock parts, and we're going to try to keep it as close to 30 parts as possible. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to end up going a little bit over the part limit that I've set for myself, because the traditional shuttles I built for the minimalist shuttle program have been under 30 parts. This one is probably going to be around maybe 32 parts-ish. However, it's all stock parts. Well, not all. It's mostly mostly stock parts. Okay. Also, for all of you amazing guys there in the chat, keep in mind that there is a slight lag when you ask questions in the chat. So you ask your questions in the chat, make sure they're good questions too. Make sure they're specific questions. And you'll find that I may not be able to answer it immediately because YouTube is not like Twitch. In that YouTube tends to have a little bit of lag when it's time to when we're streaming. So what you see in the video is roughly about I would say about 10 seconds in the past. So be prepared for about a 10-second delay for answering questions. However, if you've got questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. However, don't be too surprised if I don't answer it quickly, because I'm going to be focused a little bit on the building of this vehicle and doing a few other things as well in this game. Okay. All right. So we're probably going to be shooting. Oh, that's a good question. So Derek asks, how long is this going to be? It'll probably be maybe about an hour or an hour and a half. But all in all, we're going to shoot for trying to getting this vehicle into space, into orbit. We're probably going to put some payload into orbit, and then we're going to land this vehicle. That way we can explore all the new aspects of this game. Okay, so here we go. So we've got our cockpit here. Now this cockpit is pretty streamlined. However, the new Aerodynamics model makes it such that this thing isn't completely streamlined yet, because you got this little snub nose section on the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in a shielded docking port here, and that'll help keep things a little bit more aerodynamic. Okay, and next up, what we're going to do is we need to add on some RCS here. So we're going to go ahead and put in a Mark III monopropellant tank. What's going to happen, though, is we're going to put in 2 Mark III monopropellant tanks, and here's how it's going to work out. So we're going to go ahead and grab a hefty length cargo bay here. There we are. Okay. And then we're going to add in another monopropellant fuel tank. Now, if I had my choice in the matter, I would just put 1 monopropellant fuel tank, because these monopropellant fuel tanks are heavy. Each one contains 1,000 units of monopropellant. However, what we have to consider in this is that we have to consider the center of mass. And because these monopropellant, as you can see, the center of mass is right here, midsection of the cargo bay, and because the center of mass is tends to move as the fuel flow tends to move in this game, we want to make sure that the center of mass moves as small as possible while the shuttle is in flight. Now, traditionally in the beta version, we have a really neat mod called the TAC Fuel Balancer mod. And what we can do in that is that, well, when we re-enter the atmosphere with our shuttle, we can use the TAC Fuel Balancer mod to empty out the fuel to make our shuttle as light as possible and realign the center of mass. And then we can land on the runway with little difficulties as possible. However, the TAC Fuel Balancer mod is non-existent currently for this 1.0 version, so we have to be creative with how we balance our fuel. So what we have to do is we're going to use our 2 monopropellant tanks on either side of the vehicle, which will help keep this center of mass, well, centered during flight. So as you can see, if we use up our monopropellant, say, halfway on both ways, there we go, you'll see that the center of mass relatively stays in the same spot. And what's neat about using engines that use up monopropellant is, unlike LFO liquid fuel engines, is that monopropellant engines tend to drain from all the sources of the shuttle or of our space vehicle all at the same time. So it'll drain from the forward tank and the back tank and the cockpit monopropellant fuel tank at the same time. LFO fuel engines tend to drain from 1 tank at a time, and that doesn't really help you out when you're trying to maintain center of mass in flight. Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is we are going to begin the process of mounting some of our engines here. So let's go ahead and add in let's go ahead and add in our monopropellant fuel engine. Speaking of engines. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put these guys right here in the back. So this is probably the tiniest OMS engines in the history of the shuttle program. OMS engines, which are orbital maneuvering system type engines, are the engines that we use to stabilize our orbit or change our orbits accordingly. These ones are pretty small. However, I'm used to using them on smaller shuttles from the B9 Aerospace Pack using the 2.5 meter part. So this is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out with a vehicle as big as this. Let's take a look at the weight right now. And right now we have a mass of 19.6 tons and 7 parts. So we're looking pretty good so far. Ultimately, we want to try to keep this thing generally around the 25-ton range. And that's what we're going to hopefully work out here. Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and put in some landing gears here. So we're going to put in the medium landing gear that came with a 1.0 release of the game. We'll slap that puppy. We'll move it a little bit forward here. Okay, and there we go. And then we're going to disable the brakes. And then next up, what we are going to do is we're going to add in our payload structural components. So let's go ahead and grab our Hub Max multi-point connector, press the Alt key, and place it right about here. This is going to be the hub that we're going to use to dock the shuttle to any space stations that we need to dock to, all that other fun stuff. Okay, and what's neat is it has all these other connector ports which we can put all sorts of awesome little utility items. So what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and attach a battery to this thing here. So we'll go ahead and throw a battery here, right up top, and wha-bam. Okay, and then we are going to put a little bit more control with this shuttle, a little bit more torque control, and so we're going to add an advanced inline stabilizer right about here. Now the advanced inline stabilizer is there to add some additional torque control, but it's also there to serve as a placeholder so we can put our solar panels to that thing as well. Okay, and then we're going to add our infamous docking ports. So let's flip this. There we are. Press down the Alt key, tap it up there. Good. And we're going to add another docking port towards the bottom. Oh, let's see. Okay, there we go. And Alt key. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got our docking ports so that we can carry our payloads into orbit. Now we're going to go ahead and name this shuttle here. We're going to call it YouTube. Let's call it Live Stream Shuttle. Okay, there we are. And then next up, we're going to need some lights in the cargo bay. So we're going to go ahead and grab our awesome Mark I lights. There we go. And let's flip this guy around here. And perfect. And let's turn on the lights just to double check. Okay, perfect. And we've got our lighting squared away here. All right. And next up, what we will do is, right now, let's check the size. We got 21.6 tons, 14 parts. Good, good, good. We are on a roll here, guys. Okay, so next up, we got to put the all-important wings to this craft. So there's our center of lift. Now, what's really neat about this game, which started with the beta, is that the game started modeling lifting bodies. This by itself has lifting body characteristics, but really not a whole lot, not compared to, say, the Ferrum Aerospace mod, which adds some very liberal lifting body mechanics to non-wing parts. This one here just gives some very small lifting body characteristics. We've really got to make up for it with the sort of wings that we throw on here. Now, if we're going to build a shuttle with a minimum number of parts, one part of the shuttle, or any flying vehicle for that matter, that tends to eat up a ton of part counts tends to be the wings. And so if we were going to build a regular stock shuttle with really nice looking wings, we would probably easily put in something like 8 wing parts to this vehicle, maybe even 10 wing parts, just to get enough lift to get this vehicle going. However, we want to try to minimize that because, you know, we are we are the minimalist space program, so we're going to try to decrease the amount of wing parts that we use. So if you notice, I went ahead and dropped down one of the wing parts on the belly of the shuttle. This one has a lift rating of 0.2, and we are going to grab one of the delta wings here. Let's see if we can find one of the stock delta wings. There it is. Lift rating of 5. Excellent. This delta wing has the second highest lift rating of the stock wings in the game. The one that has the highest, I believe, is this guy here, the Aeroplane Main Wing, at a whopping 7.8 lift rating, which is which is nothing really compared to the sort of wings that you get off of the B9 Aerospace pack, but it will do. Let's go ahead and add this to the bottom here. And there we go. Now, what's neat about placing this component down here to add the wings is that you can load up. For one, you can make it look a little bit more like a space shuttle by having it at the bottom of the fuselage, and two, you make it less intrusive into the cargo bay. Because what happens is, if you were to not use this bottom piece and instead attach the delta wings, say, to the middle default of the fuselage, like so, you'll notice that it intrudes into the cargo bay. And in worst case scenario, you can put all sorts of interesting parts in the middle of the cargo bay that would really intrude into the center of the cargo bay. Like you would have these pieces just pierce like about half a meter or two into the cargo bay, which would interfere with the cargo that you have in there. And when you're trying to get things as tight fit as possible into the cargo bay, you really got to watch out for that. So that's part of the reason why I put the wings underneath the vehicle. Okay, so next up, we need some control surfaces. We're going to look for the control surfaces with the highest lift rating. 1.16 and 0.77. Let me see here. I think the Elevon 2 probably has the best lift rating out of the bunch. Okay, so we're going to use that, the big S Elevon, with a whopping 1.16 lift rating, and we'll go ahead and attach it to the back of the shuttle here. There we are. Perfect. Okay. Wait. Well, not quite so perfect. Let's fix that. We're getting a little bit of clipping here. Okay, there we are. Close enough. Okay, now if we were going to build a regular shuttle without a care in the world for part count numbers, we would add more control surfaces to the back of this wing. However, I think this is going to be plenty here. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and add on some more aerodynamics. We're going to save. Okay, so how do we build wings on a 3.75 meter shuttle that's easily going to be over 25 tons, such that we're going to carry enough lift so that the shuttle can glide back to Kerbin, and also without us using a ton of wing parts? Well, we're going to do something a little unorthodox. We are going to put in some canards to the shuttle first off, and the secret is in the canards. So let's go ahead and flip this guy about. There we are. Oops. Do I have the right part here? Yes. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to use a type B here. Let's flip this about. No, I'm not going to flip it that way. There we go. Nope, nope, nope. Yes. Yes. Okay. Here we go. And that's where we're going to attach our canards. Now, the sort of canards we're going to use are going to be a little bit unorthodox here. And this is going to help us save part counts while at the same time increasing lift. First off, we're going to use the big S spaceplane tail fin. And we're going to mount that on the back here. There we are. Good, good, good. Beautiful. Okay. And then, guess what? We're going to use those same spaceplane tail fin parts, and we're going to use those as canards. Okay, so here we go. Beautiful. Look at that. So those are going to be our canards, and that's going to provide some additional lift. Now, what's really cool about these tail fin is that the lift rating. Look at that. 3.49 lift rating. That is awesome. If you look at any comparable canards, if we were to use like a Delta Wing, which is 0.65, and there's another Delta Wing hiding. This guy right here, standard canard, 0.52. Doesn't hold a candle to something like this, which carries a 3.49 lift rating. So it's easily 4 to 5 to 6 times the lift rating of a standard canard, which is something that we really need to be able to carry this shuttle if we need to be able to give it a proper glide. Okay, there we go, and we're looking nice and pretty here. What we're going to do next is let's go ahead and add on our let's see here. Let's go and add on some landing gears. So we're going to add in the rear landing gears. I'm going to use those as medium landing gears. Okay. And double that baby up. And we're going to place it on the wings. And let's stretch it out, say right about here. Brilliant. Okay. There we go. And then what we're also going to do is, well, actually, let's fix that there. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, perfect. And we're going to bring this slightly in. And then what we're going to do is we need to increase the torque on the brakes on these back wheels here. So we're going to torque it up all the way up to 30. Okay, perfect. Now, let's go ahead and add in some action groups. So 10 is going to close the cargo bay. Okay. And then we're going to save 4 to be our flaps. So we're going to toggle the flaps there. What's really neat about the new Aerodynamics model is that you now have the ability to apply air brakes or use wing flaps to slow you down when it comes to landing. Now, we could easily use the air brakes. And the air brakes, let's see here. I think it's under the control. Nope, it's under Aerodynamics. Let's see, air brakes, air brakes, air brakes. Okay, yes. We could easily use these guys to slow us down. However, we're not going to use them. We're going to save a little bit on part count, and we're going to rely on slowing down our airspeed solely on these wing flaps. Okay. All right. So next up, we need some RCS control surfaces. So we're going to throw in an RCS block in the back, like so. And then another RCS thruster block toward the front, like so. Okay. So now, let's go ahead and double check our lift versus center of mass. Okay, so the lift is a little too far back here. The new, if we were using the old Aerodynamics model, this wouldn't be too much of a problem. However, the new Aerodynamics model makes it a lot easier to lawn dart your vehicle if you don't have the proper thrust. And because this shuttle is going to be primarily gliding, the way it is right now, it's going to end up lawn darting a little bit. And let's just double check here, because I want to be able to bring the shuttle back under the anticipation that we have roughly half of our RCS fuel left. So if we drop this down to 400 on each, and then no monopropellant on the front nose, that's where our new, this is generally where our new center of mass is going to be when we land. So it's a little too far front. So we're going to bring our lift, our center of lift a little bit forward here. Let's put all our monopropellant back into the vehicle. And let's move our wings forward. Now, our wings are pretty darn good as they are, so what we're going to do is we are going to offset them instead. Let's see. Let's go ahead and take these guys and move these. Whoops. Okay. Let's move these guys and move them forward just a tad. Perfect. And then we're going to take these wings here and move them forward just a tad. Like that. Perfect. Okay. So next up, we've got to test the glide. Let's take a look at the part counts. Right now we are at 29 parts. Ooh, not too shabby. Actually, what we need, we're gonna play it safe because this shuttle is pretty big. And pretty hefty. We're gonna add in another set of monopropellant engines here. Let's go ahead and it's gonna look a little bit odd. So let's drop these here and then plop these up here for symmetrical purposes. There we go. Looks a little bit better. All right, so now we have a little bit of additional thrust so that we can use this vehicle for proper thrust when when manipulating our orbit around Kerbin. Next up, we need some power supplies. Now, we're going to stay away from radiothermal generators, and we're going to use our good old-fashioned photovoltaic panels. Now, keep in mind that in the new 1.0 game, they tweaked the photovoltaic solar panels in this game. So if you plan to retract your panels quite a bit, you want to use these guys here, the ones that are inside the little white boxes. Why? Well, if you use, say, these guys here, the ones that are not inside the boxes, these are one command panels. And what do I mean by one command panels is that if you attach them to an object and you send them into space and you tell them to deploy the panels, that's it. Those panels are going to stay there. You cannot retract these solar panels anymore once you deploy them. So that's something new with the new 1.0 game. So if you plan to build a probe that you want to retract your solar panels with, use these guys, the ones in the white boxes. Okay, there we are, and we're going to go ahead and mount it here. Right about here. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and add this as an action group, and we're going to toggle the panel here. Perfect. And then what I'm going to do too is I'm going to add a new action group, one that turns off the reaction wheels, and this will help conserve battery power when we re-enter the planet. So we're going to toggle reaction wheels, and perfect. Okay. There we are. Now it looks like we have a pretty decent looking shuttle here. Next up, let's go ahead and test fly this vehicle. So we're going to test it under the assumption that these two tanks are down to, say, 300. Say 300 monopropellant, and this one is empty. As you can see, the center of mass is still looking pretty good. All right, and we're going to save, and then we're going to take this out to the pad. And let's give this one a test. Now, what's interesting about the Aerodynamics model in this game is that in the old beta version of the Aerodynamics model, it's pretty easy to find an equilibrium when you're gliding. And by equilibrium, I mean there's a point where which your airspeed remains consistent and your glide path remains consistent. Not so much in this new aerodynamic model, in that you can't do that anymore. Your airspeed is going to continually decrease if you up your nose, and it makes it a little easier for you to pancake into the ground, or it makes it easier for you to stall. So that's one thing you have to be very careful of. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hack the gravity for a second, and let's go ahead and get this thing off the ground. So let's go ahead and increase throttle. And we are going to loop-de-loop this shuttle. Okay, and let's go ahead and get this thing up to about say 800 meters to a kilometer up there. Okay, and good. We are at 600 meters, 700 meters, 800 meters. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and swing ourselves around. And then let's turn our shuttle upright. And then let's go ahead and deactivate our RCS. Okay, and then let's move our shuttle towards the horizon. Okay, and let's go ahead and turn on gravity again. Now, here's something really interesting about the new aerodynamics model in the game. In that, in a way, your vehicles are a little bit more fragile. And it's easier to pull a high G turn that'll ultimately destroy your vehicle. So if you're flying a shuttle with 3.75 meter parts like this guy here, you got to be really careful about that. Oh my goodness. So it looks like we found a little bit of a bug, and our canards are stuck. They're not moving. Oh no. Oh no! Our canards are not moving. Oh, so unfortunately we can't lift the nose of our shuttle. Let's head back over to the cargo bay and let's see if we can fix that. I've noticed an interesting bug with control surfaces, in that they have a tendency to freeze up sometimes. Let's see if we can fix that. Okay. Let's do a little bit more offsetting. And sometimes if you shake it around a little bit, it can fix that. Okay. Here we are. And then let's go ahead and let's shake this up a little bit and move this piece such that, there we go. Okay. Whew. Okay, let's head back out to the runway again. And let's take a look at the canard again. If we check the canard should be moving. There it is. Okay, so the canard is moving again. Good, 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 good. Okay, so close up panels, hack gravity, and turn our shuttle up. Throttle up. And let's get ourselves back up again. Proper this time. Okay, so the canards, oh my goodness, the canards are frozen again. What in the world is going on? Well, that's a bit of a concern. If I hit the 4 key, okay, so our flaps are looking okay. But the canards are frozen again. They're stuck in the down position. What is causing that? I wonder what is going on. Because I really need those canards to work. Okay, let's revert back to the hangar again. And that's really strange. Okay. Let's shake down the piece again. So we're going to go ahead. Move this back slightly. And then forward. And then we're going to offset the piece just a little bit here. Okay. This is a bit of a concern here. Okay, so let's try this again. I've had this issue before with control surfaces freezing up. I haven't had it happen this rampantly before. Okay, there we are. Okay, and then throttle up. Okay, so canards are still working. Good. All right, keep it together, canards. Keep it together. Stay pretty for me. All right, so you're still flapping. Keep on flapping, canards. Okay, so we're going to close the cargo bay. Because in the new Aerodynamics model, Aerodynamics are modeled inside of... oh, no. I think I know what's happening. Okay, I know what's happening now. The bug is happening whenever, and it's associated with that cargo bay. Let's head back into the spaceplane hangar. And what we're going to do is we're going to close up this cargo bay. That's interesting. The canards are freezing up whenever the cargo bay is activated. So let's do that. And let's go ahead and send this back out again. So what's really neat is that if you place things inside of cargo bays now, they do not cause any drag. However, when you open up those cargo bays, they cause drag like crazy. And I think that's what's causing that little bug there. Okay, so now everything should be nice and golden. We should be able to have a nice, decent glide. Now, as I mentioned before, stalling is a lot more prevalent in the new Aerodynamics model. And that's something you need to watch out for. And so when you build your spacecraft, like what we're going to do here, we are going to track to see what airspeed this vehicle tends to pancake or tends to stall on. Roughly, it looks like this vehicle is going to start stalling at around 40 meters per second. So let's go ahead and turn on the gravity. And let's check that out. Okay. So now that we got our canards working again. Okay. So you notice we're at 26 meters per second, and I am pounding that S key to try to lift our nose. But I can't lift it up because our airspeed is so slow. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and nosedive a little bit here. And now you see that I have a little bit more control over the nose. This is what's interesting about the new Aerodynamics model. In that in the old Aerodynamics model, provided I had enough torque force, I can always lift the nose up, no matter what. Here, I cannot anymore. You have to keep an eye over your airspeed with the new Aerodynamics model, because your airspeed is ultimately going to define the amount of lift that your canards or your control surfaces are going to have to be able to control your vehicle. So, this is a new challenge here, in that you have to maintain, at least for this vehicle, I have to maintain a consistent airspeed of at least 40 meters per second in order to make this vehicle controllable. If I do not, my vehicle is going to lawn dart into the ground. So here we go. And we're looking really good here. Let's see, where is that ground? We're a little bit too early in the morning to have pretty decent lighting. I'll probably time warp a little bit towards the afternoon to help me with the lighting here. Okay, and we're consuming electricity like a crazy person, but that's okay. Here we are, and we're coming close to the ground. Oh, we've got to nosedive a little bit because our airspeed is a little bit low. Okay, here we go, and flaps up and brakes on. Now we maxed out the brake torque on the landing gear, so now we almost stop on a dime here with this shuttle. Perfect. Look at that. So now we got a good glide. Okay. All right. Well, hey there, Dylan. Shout out to you, sir. Welcome to the Minimalist Shuttle Program. All right. Now, what's really cool is that if we were using the old Aerodynamics model in the old beta version of this game, these wings would have nowhere near enough lift to be able to properly glide a shuttle this big. And right now, this shuttle is at 17.84 tons. It would just be way too hard, and we would end up crashing into the ground. However, the new Aerodynamics model is more forgiving in terms of glide, as long as you got enough airspeed. So that's what's really cool about this. Okay, let's go and head back into the space plane hangar. And now that we have proper glide capability for the shuttle, let's go ahead and max out our monopropellant loads. And let's go ahead and prep this shuttle for liftoff. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to retract our landing gears. There we go. And, ooh, okay, let's select those landing gears into its bays. Perfect. All right. So now we have a shuttle that is 32 parts. Awesome. So we managed to keep it around generally a 32-part load, which is fairly comparable to our minimalist shuttle program. And it's fully functional. Now the fact that it's 25.5 tons is something that we can somewhat ignore, because it's going to be roughly 17 tons by the time it reaches back toward Kerbin, due to all the RCS it's going to drain out. Okay. So next up, let's go ahead and start attaching our launch components to the shuttle. So we're going to attach one main fuel tank here. Let's see here. Let's attach it to the main fuselage here. Perfect. And then we are going to attach a 3.75 meter fuel tank. We're going to attach one of these big guys here. And we're going to attach it to the bottom, like so. Okay, and then, now, this fuel tank, we can't launch as it is. Because it's not aerodynamic. Ooh, we got to pay attention to the whole aerodynamic thing, right? Okay, so we're going to attach some adapters to this thing here to help with its aerodynamics. So, let's see here. Where is that? Oh, there we are. Okay. So we're going to attach, say, let's do a standard adapter here. That gives us a little bit additional fuel. And we are going to attach some reaction wheels to here. About 3 should probably do it. And then to top it off, to maintain aerodynamic consistency, we are going to add on aerodynamic cap right there. Perfect. Okay. There we are. All right, so now we've got our fuel tank. Next up, what we are going to do is we need to attach our launch boosters. So we're going to add in a Rockomax decoupler. Now here's what we're going to do, and this is what's going to be a little bit different from the traditional space shuttle launches that we do, in that we're going to detach our launch boosters once we get into orbit. And part of the reason why we're doing that is to help conserve weight. Because, believe it or not, these engines are actually really heavy when compared to the weight ratios of the shuttle here. And if we're trying to get a shuttle to glide back to Kerbin, and we're trying to conserve weight so it doesn't fall like a brick, we need to make it as light as possible. So it's going to shed these engines. What we're probably going to use is we are going to use these Skipper liquid fuel engines. Why are we using the Skipper liquid fuel engines? Well, for one, this is 3 tons. This one is 6 tons. This is double the weight of this Skipper engine here. And believe it or not, when we're using these engines for liftoff and we're using our infernal robotics parts to, say, gimbal the engines, the infernal robotics parts are pretty fragile. And they can't handle a whole lot of weight and thrust load. So let's use this for example. What we're going to use is we're going to gimbal the engines. The default gimbling on these engines are not enough to counteract the change in mass during liftoff. The actual real-life space shuttle can gimbal anywhere between 30 to 36 degrees on its launch engines, which is awesome. However, the gimbling here, let's take a look at the gimbling. Liquid fuel, flame out. Vector ranging. It can gimbal a whole whopping 2 degrees. Nothing like the 30 to 36 degrees that the engine bells can gimbal on the actual space shuttle. So we're going to compensate for that by doing 2 things. First off, we're going to add some extra reaction wheels. And second off, we're going to add some infernal robotics parts to help with the gimbling. So let's let's add in, where is it? Okay, so we're going to switch to our robotics parts here, and we're going to add some hinges on the back. We're going to double up, add 2 hinges to the back of this vehicle. As a matter of fact, let's add in a spare fuel tank here, and this is going to help us with getting us into orbit. Okay, and perfect. And then we're going to add in some gimbaling. So, robotics. There we go. This is the only infernal robotics part we're going to use for this shuttle here. So, we're going to stick to mostly stock parts. Okay. There we are. And then, we are going to add in our... There it is. We're going to add in our Skipper engines to the back. Double up. Okay, let's move those engines a little bit further apart. They're starting to clip with each other here. Okay, and oops, we accidentally snagged it here. Okay, there we are. And let's take that Infernal Robotics part, double it up. Okay, double up. There we are. Okay, and let's scooch these guys a little bit further apart. Okay, I guess there's no helping it. I guess there's going to be a little bit of clipping on these two engines. Okay, there we go. Close enough. Now, next up, what we're going to do is we're going to hotkey the gimbling on these engines. So we're going to open up our Infernal Robotics menu, and we're going to gimbal. We're going to do the 2 key and the 3 key as our gimbling. Now, Infernal Robotics, really awesome tool. However, when you attach it to engines and various other parts and whatnot, it has a tendency to jerk around because when the servos start moving in Infernal Robotics, they tend to accelerate and move a little bit too fast sometimes. So what we're going to do is we're going to tweak the movement speed on those Infernal Robotics. We're going to drop the acceleration of the joints down to a quarter of what they used to be. So, oops. Okay. So we're going to drop this down to 1. Okay, and acceleration down to 1. There we go. So now the gimbling is going to move at a somewhat slower pace to make the engine gimbling a little bit smoother during the course of our liftoff. Okay, and then we are going to save that, and then we're going to close up our Infernal Robotics. Next up, let's go ahead and attach the fuel lines. And we're going to attach the fuel lines here. Actually, we're going to move the fuel lines a little bit here. We're going to attach it here. And then we need the ever important space tape. This is a massive vehicle that's attached to a massive fuel tank, and there's going to be some wobbling around. So we need to make sure that we minimize that wobbling by adding in, oh dude, my goodness. Let's reattach you to the shuttle. There we go. Okay, and our fuel line, reattach you. Okay, so we're back in business here. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then we're going to attach another strut connector to the nose. And we're going to stabilize the shuttle. Okay, and then next up, we're going to attach one more strut connector. Be real careful with the struts because they have a tendency to exponentially increase the part counts on your vehicle. So you got to be pretty careful about that. There we are. Okay. There we are, guys. So we have the makings of a really decent shuttle. Now let me go ahead and prove a point about how fragile Infernal Robotics parts are. I don't use Infernal Robotics parts a whole lot. And there's a reason why. Let's say we were launching this shuttle with, and we want more thrust on the shuttle. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in the larger engines. First we'll save. And then let's get rid of these. And let's go ahead and put in, let's put in our mainsail engines. And double up on that guy. These engines, if you try to put them on your shuttle and you attach them to robotics parts for pivoting purposes, it's going to cause you some heartache. A lot of heartache. Here we go. So we're going to do a thrust test here. Okay. So first off, let's test the gimbling. Down, up. So gimbling is looking good. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Next up, here we go. So 3 shuttle engine test in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're looking good. Now here, let's go ahead and gimbal our engines. Actually, it's looking pretty decent. I might be wrong. These engines are actually gimbaling pretty well. Okay, good. Good. Still though, we have a little bit of inconsistency on these. Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and turn that off, and let's head back into the spaceplane hangar. Actually, those engines didn't worked out pretty good, actually. So let's actually, we're still going to go ahead and use the regular skipper engines. And the reason we're going to use the skipper engines is because of the is because they're a little bit more fuel efficient. Their ISP is a lot higher. And also because their thrust is a little bit lower, they tend to be a little bit more stable on the launch. Okay, so let's do another test. Here we go. Okay, and here we are, looking good. Now, as you can see, there's a lot less jerking motion. These engines are actually gimbaling nice and smooth-like. When you saw, as you saw with the mainsail engines, they were a lot heavier and a little bit more ungainly. And whenever I gimbaled them, you saw a little bit of a jerking motion. These ones have almost no jerking motion because they're half the weight of a mainsail engine, and plus their thrust is not so fierce. So testing engines in 3, 2, 1, and look at that. Beautiful. Okay, and fuel consumption is pretty favorable. Okay, and we are looking beautiful, guys. Look at that. Okay, so engine test is good, and it's draining from the main fuel tank first. Good, and we're going to revert back to the spaceplane hangar. Okay, so what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to seal off this tank. This tank we're going to use to help circularize our orbit. This main tank here, what we're going to use it for is to get us into space, into a suborbital trajectory. Okay, all right, good. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of these launch clamps. Okay, and next up, now, let me give a quick talking point with regards to the engines and the new ISP model that's set up here. Okay, so let's head on over to the skipper engine and give this as an example. Take a look at the skipper engine. All right, it's telling you two different values on its thrust component. It's telling you that in the atmosphere, this skipper engine has a thrust capable of thrusting at 568.75 kilonewtons, and in the vacuum of space is capable at thrusting at 650 kilonewtons. If we were in the beta version of Kerbal Space Program, you would see just one value, 650 kilonewtons, and you wouldn't see anything else. Here's why. In the new ISP modeling, the ISP has been remodeled in the new 1.0 version, such that the fuel flow to your engine remains consistent, but your thrust changes as you leave the atmosphere. That's the opposite compared to what it was in the beta version. In the beta version, your thrust always remained consistent, but as you exited the atmosphere, your ISP increased and your fuel flow decreased, so you used up less fuel. That's not what it's like in the actual space program when rockets take off. In the actual space program, fuel flow remains consistent, and it's emptying the fuel tanks at the same rate. However, as the atmosphere becomes less and less prevalent, the thrust on the engine tends to become more powerful. And this is exactly what they were modeling here in the new version of Kerbal Space Program 1.0. Really neat stuff, actually. So, as you're launching your vehicle, one thing you might want to keep in mind is that your thrust is increasing as you're exiting the atmosphere. So, to help conserve fuel, you might want to decrease your thrust a little bit. That's what's another really neat feature of the new 1.0 that makes it a little bit more realistic. Okay, so now we largely have ourselves a pretty good looking shuttle. Next up, what we're going to do is we are going to attach our solid rocket boosters. So let's grab these guys. And we are going to attach our radial decouplers to somewhere near the bottom of the tank. And let's go ahead and add in some SRBs. All right, so where are our SRBs? There they are. Okay, here we go. And we'll attach our SRBs largely to the bottom. Perfect. Okay, so now we have SRBs attached to our shuttle. Now, remember, aerodynamics are now modeled in this game, so those SRBs are not aerodynamically sound. So we need to attach some nose cones to this thing. So let's grab some nose cones and attach it to the top of our SRBs. There we go. And now what we need to do is we need to attach some separatrons to these SRBs. Here's why. If we were to use the default decoupler on these SRBs, keep in mind the shuttle is moving slantwise. So if we were to decouple these SRBs would not clear these wings. As a matter of fact, these SRBs would smack into the wings of the shuttle in the middle of liftoff because we're moving in a slantwise direction. And most of the time, they're going to hit those wings hard enough that they're going to rip them off. So we need to make sure that these SRBs clear the wings as quickly as possible. So we're going to add in probably 2 separatrons here at least. Here we go. So we're going to add them to the nose cone up the top. Perfect. And then we're going to... Actually, let's move this a little bit further up. Perfect. And then we're going to add another set of separatrons so that it moves downward away from the wings. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. And next up, let's go ahead and add on some launch stability enhancers. And we're going to attach them to the bottom of our shuttle here. So 2 here. And we're going to add, let's see here. 2 more. Oh, come on. You can do this. There we go. Okay, so we're going to add on some more stability enhancers here. And we're going to drop those to the first stage. Perfect. And probably another set we're going to need. Don't want to attach it to the fuel tank because the shuttle is going to end up smacking into it. So let's add those, say, not here. Okay, we'll go and add them here. Perfect. Okay. Alex says, this looks like an interesting shuttle, and you... you are absolutely right. What's interesting is the proportions here. In the minimalist space shuttle program that I do, usually the shuttle is a lot smaller than the fuel tank is attached to. And the proportions look a little bit more realistic, I suppose. I guess realistic is too odd of a word. However, what's awesome is the new aerodynamics modeling is such that you need a lot less delta V to get in the orbit because the atmosphere is a lot less soupy. That good old-fashioned 150 meter per second cap that was in the old beta version, if you were flying at the bottom, near the bottom of the atmosphere, is now gone. So now you can almost go as fast as you want at the bottom of the atmosphere. And so you don't have to worry about wasting delta V when you're lifting off. Okay, here we are. So we've got our shuttle pretty much squared away. Next up, let's go ahead and put in a test payload. So opening up the cargo bay. Let's put in something in the orbit. Okay, so let's put, say, this guy. This is 2.6 meter. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, so let's put this. And actually, let's go ahead and build a payload real quick here. So we're gonna save our live stream shuttle, and let's put together a quick payload. Alex says this isn't realistic by any means. No, it's not. But it's a little bit more realistic than the beta version. Okay, so let's go ahead and we could pretty much put just about any payload into space, but we got to watch for weight requirements. So let's go ahead and put up, say, let's go ahead and show off the new the Tantares mod, and we'll go ahead and put something Tantares like in orbit. So this one weighs 2.8 tons. We're going to put this into orbit. And then we're going to go ahead and slip in a fun little command pod. So let's go ahead and... Can we put this here? Yep, there we go. And then let's put in a battery. So we're going to put in a remote guidance pod. That doesn't look like it's... There we go. Okay. And then let's go ahead and attach a battery. So we're going to go ahead and throw in a battery here. There we are. Ooh, there we go. And then we'll go ahead and attach a docking port. Okay, where are you, docking port? There you are. And then we're going to go ahead and attach a senior docking port to the back of this vehicle. Let's see. There it is. And we'll plop that to the back. And then, what is a space station without solar panels? So we'll go ahead and attach the Gigantor solar panels. Gantry rail, that's not it. Okay, where are you? Okay, photovoltaic array. Nope, nope, nope. No. Oh, there it is. Okay, it was hiding from me. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Alex says Tantares works for you. The connection nodes and meshes wouldn't connect right for me at all. Engines only work upside down. So, Alex, there was an update to the Tantares mod actually, and it was updated. I want to say a couple hours ago. However, there are still some bugs to the Tantares mod, in that the Tantares engines tend to overheat really fast if you're not careful. Once you leave the atmosphere, the new heat radiation mechanics in the game are such that heat isn't a problem in the atmosphere. However, when you leave the atmosphere, heat radiation becomes a problem for Tantares parts, and it starts to heat up really fast. So you got to be careful with that. Okay, so we're gonna call this a station core, and this part we're just going to use to test the payload capabilities of this. And right now it weighs 6.6 tons. Okay, so we're going to test the shuttle's ability to launch 6.6 tons into orbit. We're going to make this a sub-assemblies part. So there we go. We're going to change the root part on this vehicle. And then let's go ahead and put this into sub-assemblies. Grab you. Sub-assemblies. And drop this in. And we're going to call this the station core. Okay, there we go. What's funny is that this the only thing Tantares about this part here is the central operations block. All the rest of it is stock parts. So we could have easily just put in a stock crew can. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that. Let's switch this out, and we're going to go ahead and put in a crew can. Minus will stick to the mostly stock stuff in the game. Okay, So moving off. Let's see, close this up. And let's go ahead and add in a crew can. There we are. And then we're going to put everything back onto it again. Okay. And perfect. All right. So let's put this back into the sub-assemblies. Okay. And we're going to overwrite the old station core. All right. Now we've got our cargo that we're going to send into space. Let's go ahead and load up our space shuttle. And we're going to, let's see, it was called the live stream shuttle. There it is. Okay. So now let's go ahead and add this on. Okay, so sub-assemblies, station core. And we're going to attach this into the bay. Perfect. There we go. And to make sure there's not a whole lot of wibble wobble, that's going to be our word of the week, wibble wobble, when lifting off, we're going to go ahead and attach this. First off, we're going to put a save here. We're going to call this live stream shuttle with cargo. I like to double up on saves just in case. Okay. All right. And then let's put in a strut here to make sure things are a little bit stable. All right. Woo! Good deal, you guys. All right, so let's make sure we're not using up monopropellant during the liftoff phase. Okay, guys, here we go. Let's go ahead and test the shuttle. So flip this guy around. As a matter of fact, let's exit out of here. And we're going to go ahead and, instead of launching this from the runway, like we have in the past, which seems completely odd, first off, let's go ahead and time warp to the afternoon. There we are. We're going to launch this actually from the launch pad. Okay, here we go. And so, spaceplane hangar, live stream shuttle with cargo. Perfect. And then we're going to pick this one up and we're going to turn this puppy around. There we are. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and launch this puppy. Oh, my goodness. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to close up the cargo bay. Let's head back. Now, if you recall, during the building of this shuttle, there's a weird little bug with regards to the control surfaces of the shuttle, and that the control surfaces tend to freeze up whenever you screw around with the cargo bay. So we want to close the cargo bay beforehand before we bring this out to the pad. There we are. Cargo bay is closed up. Now let's head back out to the launch pad. Okay. Here we go. Looking beautiful. And let's get the SAS turned on. Cabin lights on. And let's test out the gimbaling on the engines. Okay. Gimbaling looks good. Ooh, it's right up against the... the engines are right up against the pad. This might be a little bit of an issue because I can't gimbal very well when it's right against the pad like that. Okay. Ugh. My goodness. Okay, let's head back to the bay again. And let's get a little bit of space between those engines and the pad. So we're going to lift up the shuttle just a little bit here. And up we go. There we go. Now let's head back and launch again. It's these little details you got to watch out for, guys. Okay. Now we are back on the pad again. We've got enough clearance space on the engines to gimbal. So what we're going to do is we're going to gimbal these engines down here a little bit outward. There we go. Okay. And SAS is on. Throttle to max. And let's go and turn on the lights in the cabin. Here we go. First test launch of the Kerbal National Space Shuttle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, good, good. We're looking pretty here, guys. Look at that. And let's gimbal our engines down. Okay. Now we want to maneuver our shuttle into our gravity turn almost immediately. And I'm just tippy-tapping the 2 key here so I can gimbal the engines forward. Why am I gimbling the engines forward? Well, as you can see, the pitch indicator, you want to keep the pitch indicator toward the center as much as possible. As the center of mass on the shuttle starts moving, the pitch indicator is going to drop. And part of the reason why it's going to drop is because these torque wheels are compensating for the fact that the center of mass is moving. And if you let that pitch indicator drop rock bottom, the shuttle is going to start to tumble end over end. And the way you can help counter that is by gimbaling your engines to counteract that motion there. Okay, we're about to, let's lose, lose those SRBs. Ah, okay. That didn't quite work out so well. Let's revert back to... let's revert back. Okay, so new aerodynamics model vehicles are a little bit more fragile, so you've got to be very careful. There we go. Okay, so I went ahead and decreased the SRBs a little bit there, and its thrust indicator. I decreased the max thrust on those SRBs a little bit. Okay, let's try that again. Here we go, and we're gonna tilt our engines ever so slightly. SAS on, in 3, 2, 1, launch. Okay, now we're looking a little bit better. Let's gimbal our engines just a tad. And then let's move. Let's tilt our shuttle about 5 degrees. Good, okay. There we are, and we're looking nice and pretty. Let's see that pitch indicator starting to dip a little bit, so let's go ahead and move the gimbling on our engines just a bit. There we are. Okay, perfect. All right, and gimbal our engines just a little bit more. We're about to hit the 2-kilometer mark here, so we're looking nice and pretty. Let's go and turn on those cabin lights. There we are. Okay, and gimbal our engines down just a little bit more because our pitch indicator is starting to drop some more. Okay, so we're getting ready to remove our SRBs. So SRBs, get ready for jettison. SRB jettison. Woo! Okay, good, good, good. Okay, so we're looking nice and pretty right now. Right now, let's switch over to orbital speed, and let's go ahead and tilt our shuttle very carefully to 10 degrees. Okay, we are at the 10 degree. Okay, so now we're going to very, very carefully move our shuttle towards 45 degrees. There we are. Okay, so our orbital speed is increasing, looking pretty. Okay, there we go. Perfect, and we're going to go ahead and drop ourselves just a bit. We're going to scooch past the 45 degree mark, and let's get us a little bit further down. Okay, so see our pitch indicator starting to dip a little bit. Now, as you can see, our engines are starting to overheat. Right? We have less atmosphere to disperse the radiation from the heat radiation from our engines, and for that, and pretty much the rest of the parts of the vehicle. So we have to be real careful from this point on here. Okay, let's take a look at our orbit. Okay. And we're looking beautiful here, guys. Just look at that. Liftoff is looking great. Okay, so let's pitch our engines just a little bit more. And then we are going to move our shuttle the full bore. We're going to drop us to almost 90 degrees here. Let's go and shoot for 90 degrees. Let's shoot for the horizon, guys. Okay, and we're tippy-tapping the 2 keys so we can gimbal our engines up. There we are. Okay, so let's see here. We're almost to space. Space, guys. Space. Okay. And perfect. Okay. So next up, now we didn't quite get into that suborbital trajectory. That's okay, though. We're going to do, now you see how the engines are white hot due to the overheating? Really cool effect, guys. Really cool. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and disconnect the main tank in 3, 2, 1. Main tank separation is complete. RCS up, and we're going to separate from the main tank, preparing to activate secondary tank to circularize our orbit, preparing for orbit insertion burn in 3, 2, 1. Mark. Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Well, that didn't work out so hot. Okay. Let's move our shuttle around. And let's move it towards the prograde marker. Oh, we are running out of space here, guys. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. Okay, got to be real careful here. Let's recenter our engines. Okay. And uh-oh, we're starting to dip. Let's activate those engines. Okay, we are in trouble. Okay, let's get ourselves above the horizon. Okay, and then let's switch to stability assist. Okay, and decoupling main RCS engines up. We are in a lot of trouble. We really screwed up this flight here. Let's try that one again. So revert to launch. So our launch profile was pretty bad. But we're on the right track. Okay. Here we go. So moving our engines back. Perfect. Here we go. Full bore on engines in 3, 2, 1. Launch! Okay, and tippy tap our engines. And we'll tilt us at 5 degrees. Looking good. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now we know what we did wrong there. We wasted some unneeded delta V time there. As a result of flipping our shuttle around. So let's try to keep things as decent as possible here. Okay, so surface speed is looking good. All right. A good rule of thumb is generally you want to start your gravity turn once you hit 50 meters per second on your speed. However, we're going to make an exception for this shuttle here. Okay, here we go. And that we did our gravity turn almost immediately after leaving the pad. And we're going to tilt ourselves over to 10. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be a little bit less aggressive with... what we're going to do differently is we're going to be a little bit less aggressive with our turn. And we are going to do this a little bit more textbook style. And let's keep to surface speed here. And when we get to about 10 kilometers, I'm going to switch over to our orbital speed indicator. There we go. And switching to orbital speed indicator. And we are going to tilt our shuttle over. And we're going to slowly worm our way over to 45 degrees. Perfect. And then we're going to, I'm going to watch these engines here. I'm going to tippy tap the 2 key. I'm going to move those engines. There we are. Look at that. Beautiful. And as you can see, the pitch indicator is back up. Normally I like to move it just slightly above the center line here on the pitch indicator, because that gives me a little bit more wiggle room when the pitch indicator starts dropping down. Okay, and then we're going to do a very small roll program here to keep us nice and centered. Okay, very careful like. We're going to tilt this back down to 45 degrees, and we're starting to get some engine overheat. The atmosphere has decreased quite a bit. Okay, and tilting us over. There we are. Perfect. Okay, and now we're going to be slightly more aggressive on the turn, and we're going to drop us down past the 45-degree mark. Okay, good. And again, we're going to gimbal the engines, so tippy-tap the 2 key. Perfect. Okay. Looking nice and snazzy. Okay, so we should be hitting suborbital flight any second now. Okay, looking good, looking beautiful. We're going to keep us at this vector right here. We're not going to make any changes. Here we go, and get us to 70. Yes, we've made it to an apoapse of 70 kilometers. Perfect. So now we are... Woo! Okay, this is not exactly what I didn't want to happen here. RCS on. Let's stabilize ourselves. Switch us over to prograde. Oh, no. It's happening again, you guys. I wasn't paying attention. Let's fix ourselves here. Okay, perfect, 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 perfect. Okay. Ace Tanker Paul, when you said that shuttle works pretty well, I think you spoke a little too soon. I wasn't, unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to the gimbaling there. But that's okay. We might be able to salvage this. Here we go. And then... Perfect. Switch to stability assist, and let's get those engines back on again. Okay, and there we go. Okay. Perfect. All right. So let's go ahead and drop this engine. Drop this tank. Okay, so dropping main tank in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, drop. And then activating orbital insertion tank. Standing by for orbital insertion engines to reactivate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, activate. Woo, okay. Perfect. Okay, here we go. And let's keep things nice and pretty here. Okay, and let's get this thing turned on just a little bit more. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I need to put in a new new action key, and this action key is to center the engines. Our problem is that once we get into orbit, I have a problem with recentering the engines. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to save this real quick. Okay. So here we go, and we're going to put in an action key, an action group, and we're going to do this action group 8, action group 5 actually. And this action group is going to recenter the engines. There we go. And move to center. That should fix our problem. Oh, hopefully that should fix our problem. Okay, so let's try this again. Yes, that would certainly help if we put in a big reaction wheel. However, Ace Tanker Paul, that would add to our part count. And we want to try to keep the part counts as intuitive as possible. Okay, here we go. And 3, 2, 1, and launch. There we go. And then we're going to tilt ourselves to 5 degrees. Perfect. I guess we could probably add in some more RCS, Ace Tanker. That would certainly help. But again, we want to try to keep the part counts as minimal as possible. And I think, hopefully, this might be able to fix our issue. I'm hoping. Okay. After all, 10 times a charm, right? Okay. Here we go. And let's tippy tap our boosters here. Okay, tippy tapping the 2 key and centering our pitch indicator towards the center. There we go. All right, we are looking beautiful. Getting ready for SRB separation. And SRB separation happening in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing SRBs. And gimbaling main engines. Okay, and we are approaching the 10-kilometer mark, preparing for steeper gravity turn and moving our gravity turn nice and easy. And we're going to try to steer ourselves towards the 45-degree mark. Very careful, like. You got to be real careful. High G turns can tear apart your vehicles now. So you can't be too reckless here when it comes to atmospheric flight. When you're in space, though, I guess you don't have that drag issue that tears apart your vehicle. So, however, in the atmosphere, we've got to be very mindful of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over to orbital speed, and we're going to do a very, very small roll program to recenter ourselves. There we are. All right, so perfect. Ace Tanker thumbing up for this launch attempt. Thank you, sir. I have a lot of high hopes for this launch attempt. I think we might be able to pull this one off this time. Okay, and let's gimbal our engines just a bit here. Okay, so we're looking nice and pretty. Things are looking a little bit better here. Okay, and let's gimbal our engines just a tad bit more. Our pitch indicator is low center, so we're gonna engines to counteract that. And you see how the pitch indicator is going key to gimbal our. All right, and space. We are past the mark. Woo! Okay, so want to stay away from that map menu. The map. Well, I try to get this thing. There we are. Perfect. Okay. Woo! Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and move our shuttle over. Roll program. Perfect. Stand by for engine jettison. Not engine jettison. Fuel tank jettison in 3, 2, 1, detach. And we are RCSing away and RCSing forward. And we're going to hit the 5 key to recenter our engines. Beautiful. And now, reigniting engines for... Ooh, actually, we got a really good... There we go. Let's tilt our vehicle just below the horizon. Okay, here we go. And reigniting engines in 3, 2, 1. Good. Nice and easy. Our thrust is at 52 kilonewtons. Okay, so you don't want to max thrust your engines at about this time because you notice this heat here. there's no atmosphere here to radiate your heat out. And the only other way you can radiate your heat is, one, time, and two, the heat dissipation mechanics in this game are such that it calculates what part the engine, the heated part, is connected to help radiate the heat. This thing isn't really all that well connected to the main body of the shuttle, which means it's going to radiate heat very, very, very slowly. So you want to be very careful over thrusting these engines. Otherwise, they're going to explode. And you don't want exploding thingies in space unless it's intentional. Okay, so we're looking beautiful here, guys. Look at that. We're going to be able to get ourselves into orbit. Okay, there we go. Oh, yes, we have RCS on this craft here, Ace. Okay, perfect. And then releasing engines. 3, 2, 1. Engine release. A little bit of an issue here. This may not be enough thrust to get us into orbit, guys. Fingers crossed. Okay, here we go. You're increasing speed very slowly. Okay, and we are just on the Apple apps here, so we have a little bit of a problem here. Okay, we got to try to make about 2,200 meters per second before we hit the atmosphere, and we might have a little bit of a problem doing that. Okay, so a little bit of an issue here. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, 100 meters per second more to go. We may not have enough delta V. I hope we do, though. And we are dropping like a rock back down to the planet. Unfortunately, fortunately, our our acceleration is going faster. Okay, and we're gonna hit 1,800 meters per second. Good. Okay, and 1,800 meters per second. Mark, we have 400 meters more. 400 meters per second more to go in order to get this orbit circularized. So cross your fingers, guys. Here we go. And we've used half of our RCS fuel. This one up is because perhaps a little bit too high. Our trajectory was a little bit too steep going into orbit. That's okay though. We might be able to salvage it because we're pretty far away from the atmosphere currently. Oh, we're about to reach 2,000 meters per second. Come on, baby. Okay, and 2,000 meters per second. And mark. Okay, good. We have 200 meters per second left to go. We can do this. We can do this. I believe. I believe. Okay, we're going to hit 2,100 meters per second. Enough. We are getting there. Oh boy. We may not have enough delta V to deorbit ourselves. We might have a little bit of a problem. Okay, good. And almost there. So we have a little bit of a problem. Back over to the launch. No, Ace Tanker, we will not use Hyper Edit. We will get this shuttle into space. We will have an excellent launch profile come hell or high water. We will have an amazing launch profile. Okay, here we go. What we want to do is we want to set up our launch profile such that our Apple apps is roughly around 80 kilometers. Not so much that massive 129 kilometers that we had previously. So, let's try that one again. Launch in 3, 2, 1. And gimbal engines. And turn this about. I am really confident that we have more than enough delta V to get into orbit. The only issue is our launch profile. So we need to get a lot more efficient profile going here. Okay, and there we are. Perfect. And then we're going to tilt ourselves to 5 degrees. We're at 5 degrees. Good. Good, good, good. Whew, okay. SRBs, fuel is half consumed. We are still looking pretty good here. Okay. And tilting, the gimbling on our engine. And let's get those to our vehicle here. There we are. Oh boy. Very, very carefully. Got to keep us centered at the 45-degree mark. Okay, good. All right, so we're starting to get some engine heat. Okay, and... Okay, 8-bit Gimmers, KSP says the new aerodynamics are evil. You can't even launch anything remotely interesting now. Just saying. It is evil, but in many ways it's evil in a good way, in that it helps you relearn the game all over again. Okay, so we're going to be a little bit more aggressive on the turn here. So we're going to go ahead and tilt our shuttle a little bit closer towards the 45-degree mark. Good. Okay. Whew. Okay, so we're going to keep it at about 80 degrees on the turn. And pitch up our thrusters. Oh, poop. Oh, no! Oh, no! Why? Why? It was going so good. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's head back to the vehicle assembly building. Okay. Let's head back. We're going to take Ace Tanker Paul's suggestion, and we're going to go ahead and add. Be a good spot to put in a reaction wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and this is 30 and 15. Okay, so let's go and add in another reaction wheel on the nose here. It's going to make it look pretty ugly, but we're going to make this one work. There we go. Put in a reaction wheel there. Additionally, what we're going to do is... Oh, I really hate to do this, but let's go ahead and put in another solid rocket booster. Okay, and we're going to double up on the SRBs. Put it right next to each other like... Well, we're going to make it a little more symmetrical. Like that. Okay, and then we're going to add in a nose cone. There we are. Perfect. And then we're going to reattach this. Oh boy. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so what this is going to do is, first off, let's go and fix the thrust limiter. So we're going to put the thrust limiter down to 60%. And then the other thrust limiter of this other engine down to 60%, 60.5. Okay, 60.5, 60.5. Good, good, and good. Okay, there we go. This is going to help us keep our SRBs a little bit longer. So hopefully this will work. I hope it will work. And just to make sure that we get proper clearance, because these SRBs are going to be a little bit heavier, let's go ahead and add in some more Separatrons, because that's going to increase the part load. And as a KSP minimalist, you know how much I love increasing part counts. And by that, I mean no. Okay. There we go. And, oh no! Oh no, 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 I didn't mean to do that. Load. Don't save. Live stream shuttle with cargo. Please tell me I saved it. With the... I didn't save it. Okay. Live stream shuttle with cargo. Action group. Okay, one of my biggest pet peeves. Absolutely. Okay, so let's move to center. Save. Going back again. We're going to add in that second SRB again. So let's grab that SRB. Plop this sucker right next to it. There we go. Get that aligned nice and pretty like. Good. Okay. And then we're going to add in another end cap. We're just going to copy paste this end cap here. There we go. Okay. Perfect. And then we're going to add in some struts to make sure that we secure that SRB. Those SRBs. There we go. And we're going to attach it to the main body. There we go. Okay. And now, okay, what we're going to do here is... Interesting, there's a little bit of a glitch here where I can't select anything. Oh my goodness, let's reload the live stream shuttle with cargo. Can I pick stuff up again? Yes, okay, good. That was a weird little glitch. I couldn't select any parts. Okay, so now let's decrease engine and let's put this to 65 on both. 65. Ooh, come on, baby. Come on. Almost there. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Okay, perfect. There we go. Let me double check, make sure everything is good. 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 Okay, and then cargo bay doors, solar panel. Woo! Okay, so new and improved. Let's head back over to the launch pad. And let's head on over to the VAB. And let's go ahead and load on live stream shuttle with cargo. Let's see, space plane hangar, shuttle with cargo. Okay. And then let's go and pick up this shuttle, turn it vertical, and... Okay, and we have to close the cargo bay so that we don't have that that control surface bug. And here we go, guys. Cross your fingers. We're going to the launch pad. Oh, okay. Here we go. SAS is on. Throttle to full. Gimbaling engines accordingly. Okay, here we go. Deep breaths, guys. Here we go. Launching in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, gimbaling engines. Okay, and tilting over to 10 degrees this time. Perfect. And keeping us nice and steady. Pitch indicator is good. We're going to gimbal the engines just a little bit there. Okay, so our launch profile is looking a little bit better here. Turning on cabin lights. Woo! Okay. Ideally, when you're launching your shuttle with SRBs, you want to be able to get rid of your SRBs roughly at around 10 kilometers. If your SRBs run out of fuel before 10 kilometers, you may not have an efficient launch profile, like what you saw previously when my SRBs ran out of fuel at the 5 kilometer mark. That wasn't really what I was looking for. Okay, so the true test will come when we have to get rid of these SRBs. Hopefully they don't smack into the wings of our shuttle. Here we go, guys. Getting ready to release SRBs. SRBs in 5, 4, 3. Cross your fingers, guys. 2, 1. Releasing SRBs. Okay. And we got rid of them at the 10 kilometer mark. Yes! Okay. Here we go. So now we have a little bit more of an efficient launch profile. Switching over to orbital speed indicator. Okay, and here we go. And we're going to tilt our shuttle to 45 degrees. We should have tilted our shuttle already before. So we're a little bit late on the mark. However, we might be able to save this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep this there. Okay. And we're going to do... I hit the caps lock key, switch us over to fine-tune mode. Okay, and let's turn our shuttle to make us a little more level with the horizon. There we go. Okay. we may be able to save this, guys. Here we go. And we're going to tilt our shuttle a little bit more. And we're at 70 degrees, 75 degrees. Okay, we're going to keep us at this tilt. And gimbaling engines. Okay, now we need to move our shuttle towards the horizon. Here we go. And moving it towards the horizon. Gimbaling engines to keep us nice and pretty looking. We're going to dip our nose below the horizon. So we're going to dip our nose at -10 degrees. So that we can flatten our trajectory a little bit. This trajectory here is a little bit too high. Way too high. Okay, and... perfect. Okay, here we go. And tilting ourselves over. Okay, roll program is complete. Moving towards the horizon, preparing to drop fuel tank. Fuel tank, release in 3, 2, 1. Fuel tank has been released. We are zeroing out the gimbal on the engines. Engines are 0 degrees on the gimbal. Standing by, RCSing away from the fuel tank. Moving forward, standing by, preparing to reignite engines in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And tally ho! Okay. Okay, so we're looking a little bit better here. Whew. Okay, we actually might be able to pull this one off, guys. That. Okay. Increasing engine thrust and getting rid of engines. RCSing away. Okay, so we are excellent right now. We managed to pull away, moving at a velocity of over 1,700 meters per second. So now all we need is slightly over 400 meters per second of delta V in order to get this orbit stabilized. So it looks like we're looking nice and pretty. Okay, here we go. And we are 40 seconds to apoapse. So we need to, let's go ahead and let's lift our nose just a little bit here. Turn off our RCS. We're going to fly this via, actually, you guys, we loaded the wrong shuttle because this doesn't have the reaction wheel that we put on the nose. Huh. Well, what do you know? That's okay, though. We're looking pretty decent. Hitting apoapse in 20 seconds. We might be able to pull this off. We have 300 meters per second delta V left to go in order to equalize this orbit. We're at 10 seconds to apoapse. Okay. We still have over 70% of our RCS fuel. Okay, here we go. We are almost at 2 kilometers per second. We have just passed the apoapse. Let's keep our nose tilted up a little bit here. Okay, 200 meters per second delta V left to go. Come on, little buddy, you can do it. You can do it. Okay, so we are approaching 2100 meters per second delta V. I mean 2100 meters per second speed. We have roughly over 100 meters per second delta V left to go to get us equalized in orbit. Okay, good. Oh, look at those. We got our 2 lines coming together here. Okay, we just might be able to pull this off. Okay, fast approaching 2200 meters per second mark. We now have a periapse. Woo! Okay. Go and lifting. We're going to lift the nose up here. Okay, looking good, looking good, looking good. And we are in orbit, guys. Woo! Congrats all around. If you got cigars, time to smoke them. We made it. Woohoo! Okay. So, we're going to do now is we don't have a whole ton of delta V. We're going to normally we would use our delta V to help circularize our orbit, but for now what we're going to do is, well, first off I'm going to switch over to free camera mode. I love free camera mode when orbiting because it looks a lot snazzier. And now I guess we could circularize our orbit. Let's go ahead and do that then. Let's go ahead and turn ourselves around. Actually, first off, we're going to open up our cargo bay, and we're going to recharge our batteries. So activate solar panel. Now, one of the really neat features about the new Kerbal Space Program 1.0 is the fact that solar panels now radiate heat. Because of the new heat radiation mechanics in the game, there's more options on how to get rid of that excess heat, and that's what solar panels do now. Yay! So these solar panels are going to help us get rid of that excess heat that we collected while getting in the orbit. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to retrograde. Okay, perfect. Oh, yeah, this new autopilot feature tends to overcompensate quite a bit there. Okay. There we go. And next up, let's head on over to the periapse. We're going to bring us down to a low, very low orbit. And we're going to bring our apoapse down to about 80 kilometers. Same thing that we have our periapse here. Okay, and perfect. And Activating RCS thrusters. Mark. Okay, and we're getting there. Should not be all that much work to equalize our orbit. Okay, good. And we're going to scooch on over to the periaps again. There we are, and we're up to the periaps. And let's circularize our orbit completely here. Okay, perfect. We now have a circularized orbit. Now, do we have it? Huh, okay. Actually, and our orbital plane is a little bit off. So we're going to move our shuttle to anti-normal. There we are. So we can fix our orbital plane. Make it nice and even with the moon. Okay, here we go. And we are approaching the ascending node. There, we're gonna save for safety purposes. And we are at 1 degree off on the ascending node. So activating thrusters. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and there we go. We are looking beautiful, guys. Look at that. Okay. All right. So next up, we are going to release our cargo. So for safety purposes, we're gonna retract our solar panel so that when we release our cargo, it doesn't end up smacking into our solar panel and breaking it. We're gonna have Jeb step out, and he's going to supervise the removal of our space station. Lights on. There we are. Oh, and now, couple and decouple CS up. Jeb inspecting the release of our core space station. Looking nice and beautiful. Okay, and let's increase time a little bit here. Perfect. And what Jeb is going to do, well, first off, let's, there we go. Get a little bit more clearance. What Jeb is going to do is he is going to unfurl the solar panels. Okay, and extending panels. Ace Tanker, I'm with you there. I've never used the autopilot very much in the game. However, it's a very intuitive way to be lazy. When you need to face prograde, but you don't want to spend the time pressing the buttons. Okay, fortunately, it's not very cheaty. It's nothing like MechJeb. I'm not, and really, I'm not a huge fan of MechJeb. I don't like things playing my game for me. However, this is a nice compromise here, using the autopilot to point the shuttle in a certain direction that I need it to point. Okay, good. So pressing F5 for safety, we are reactivating our solar panel so that we can get electricity back into our vehicle. And now we begin our next phase in our operation, which is re-entry into the atmosphere. Here's the really fun part, guys, and this is the part that gave me the most aches when I tried building this shuttle in another game. Re-entry not only has radiative heating that you need to take, but also you have atmospheric drag issues take into account as well. In the old space program, You can, when you're re-entering your space shuttle back into orbit, like you saw in my minimalist space program, you could be really aggressive with your turns and S turns and redirecting your shuttle where it's going to go right in the middle of re-entry. And be relatively safe. The only thing you had to be concerned about is accidentally tumbling end over end. Here you have additional concerns, in that the drag mechanics in this game are such that if you try to do the same aggressive turns that you did in beta while re-entering, the drag is going to be so much, and you're going back into the atmosphere so fast that it's going to rip apart your shuttle. So you have to be really, really careful. So when you set up your vector coming back into the atmosphere, you have to be really sure that is the vector you want to go to, because there's no take-backsies while you're re-entering the atmosphere. No take-backsies at all, because if you change your mind midway through flight, you can't. You can try to change the direction your shuttle is turning, but if you're going at 2 kilometers per second and you're trying to steer your shuttle, you're going to explode. So you have to be really careful about that. Okay, here we go. So F5 for safety. Now we're not even going to try to land back at the Space Center like we do with my previous episodes. We're just going to try to figure out how to land back in one piece. So we're going to aim for the main continent here. So we're going to go ahead and scoot on over to the other side of Kerbin. And while we do that, we're going to wave goodbye to our space station. Bye, space station, wherever you are. I've lost track of you, unfortunately. Okay, there we are. All right. So now we're about a quarter away where we need to be. So shuttle is turning retrograde. While we're here, let's head on over to our core station, and we're just going to give it a quick renaming. Rename vessel, and of course we're going to give it the default name, the Kerbal Oops. Call it the Kerbal National Space Station. Okay, there we go. And switch back to our shuttle. Whew. Okay, here we go. And preparing for retro fire burn for re-entry back to the space station. Oh, re-entry back to Kerbin. Wow, that space station is still right next to us. Interesting. All right, here we go. Retro burn in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And retro burn looks good. Okay. And very careful, like. We're going to try to land on this continent here. We'll probably land somewhere in the desert. Okay. And here we go. And we're almost there. And perfect. Okay. Switching to prograde. Turning our shuttle over to the prograde marker. Ooh. I'll tell you what, this autopilot loves to overcompensate. Okay, and let's restabilize ourselves here. Okay, and we're going to leave the solar panel out for just a little bit longer so that we can collect enough electricity to power the reaction wheels on re-entry. Okay, whew. Here we go, and we're going to switch to stability assist mode, and we're going to dip our nose just a little bit here so that okay, and here we go. Okay, we are now back in the atmosphere. Now remember, coming back into... Now what's interesting is that what's different about the aerodynamics in 1.0 that's different from the aerodynamics that was in the... that's different from the aerodynamics that was in beta is that the atmosphere is less soupy, especially below the 10-kilometer mark. In the old beta version of Kerbal Space Program, it didn't really matter how fast you were going when re-entering the Kerbal atmosphere. In a large way, it really didn't matter because you were almost guaranteed to slow down below 200 meters per second by the time you hit the bulk of the Kerbal atmosphere when you were about 10 kilometers above. That's not the case here anymore. The atmosphere is a lot less soupy, and it's a very real possibility that you could end up slamming into the ground if you don't adequately brake yourself at about a kilometer per second. So you have to be really cognizant about that when you do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's go ahead and retract our solar panel, and let's go ahead and close up our cargo bay. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to activate fine-tune mode. As you can see, my blue indicator arrows are now blue, which means we're in fine-tune mode. Part of the reason I have myself in fine-tune mode is so I don't end up accidentally doing some drastic course corrections while re-entering the atmosphere. Remember, the atmospheric drag in this game is now such that it has the ability to rip your spacecraft apart. Oh no. Here we go. If you're not careful. Okay, so my ailerons are stuck. This is something I really didn't want to have happen. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. See, if I close here's the weird bug. If I close my cargo bay and it shuts close, my ailerons cease to function. Okay? But if I open, notice how the ailerons are frozen? Right? Now, if I open the cargo bay, my ailerons move again. We have a problem. That means I have to keep the cargo bay open during the course of our landing here so that I can continue to use our ailerons. So, hang on tight, guys. This is going to hurt. Okay. So we're going to do this probably in a little bit more of a Kerbal fashion, and we're going to re-enter with our cargo bay doors open so that I can continue to use my ailerons. Okay, here we are. And what's interesting, though, is that we are slowing down a little bit slower than we would be if we were playing this in beta. What we're going to do now is we're going to activate our flaps. So I'm going to press the 4 key, and you notice my aileron flaps are up now. That'll help us slow down a little bit faster. Okay, and very careful. Okay, I'm going to drop the flaps, and we're going to move our vector a little bit below the horizon. I don't want to hit those mountains. So we're going to tilt our nose just slightly below the horizon. Okay, there we go. And we are at 1,300 meters per second. Looking nice and pretty. Okay, and we're going to drop our nose again. We really, really need to not hit those mountains. Okay, we are dropping below almost, we're at a kilometer per second. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead and activate our flaps. Flaps are up. Okay. And shock heating is done. And we are... Whew, okay. Good, 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 good. We made it. Yes, flaps are amazing, Ace Tanker. Now, the game came with 1.0 came with air brakes. However, I prefer to use flaps more so than air brakes. Okay, so all right, so now we are controllable again. We are at 180 meters per second, so now we can be a little bit more liberal with our flight. So let's go ahead and turn ourselves around. Very carefully. Remember, we don't want to do drastic turns. This is a 3.75 meter part object. It's a fairly hefty object too, so we want to be very gradual with our turns. Now, if you recall, while we were building this shuttle, during the test phase, we learned that this shuttle can maintain glide control capability as long as we keep it above 40 meters per second, right? If our speed dips below 40 meters per second, we become a lawn dart. That's the new aerodynamics model right there for you. So we got to make sure that we keep our airspeed above 40 meters per second so that we don't lawn dart into the ground. Okay, now we're going to turn ourselves south. That looks like some relatively good ground. Let's see if we could turn a little bit more. Okay, good. Oh, keep our airspeed going. Need to keep our airspeed consistent. Okay, good. Good. Okay, now we're going to try to find some nice flat desert here. Here we go. We're going to land in the Kerbal equivalent of White Sands. Okay. There we are. All right, so now we should have a nice, stable landing. We're going to go ahead and continue and keep us around 150 meters per second. I'm going to try to close the cargo bay doors and see if our canard bug has been fixed. So if we close that. Okay, and nope, canards are still frozen when we close the cargo bay. So we're going to reopen the cargo bay again. Okay, we are coming up on the ground here. Activating flaps, so tapping the 4 key. Deactivating flaps, because we are slowing down way too fast. Activating landing gears. Turning on brakes. Lights are on. Okay, here we go, guys. Moment of truth. Now, one thing I saw that was pretty interesting about this, about 1.0, is that vehicles tend to be a little bit more fragile. I have to make sure that when I land this shuttle, I land it at below 10, at a vertical velocity of less than 10 meters per second. Otherwise, it's going to explode or fall apart really quickly. So we got to be real careful on this landing here. Here we go, and gonna raise our nose just a little bit. Flaps up. Ooh. Okay, and oh. We are fast approaching our 40 meter per second stall limit here. So we got to keep it, let's try to keep it at around 50 meters per second. You know, if this was the old beta version, I wouldn't have thought twice about landing the shuttle. Basically, I could just hit the SAS key, tilt my nose up about 10 degrees, and then walk away from the computer. And it would almost land itself. Now you got to be really careful about this. And really pay attention. All right, here we go. And perfect. We are on the ground. Woo! All right. Golf claps all around. Golf claps. All right. We made it, you guys. We have proven the use of a mostly stock space shuttle in the new Kerbal Space Program 1.0 release of the game. As you saw, the new re-entry and heat radiation mechanics of this game, as well as the new aerodynamics mechanics of the game, make this game a lot more challenging to play, especially if you plan to use a space shuttle. So you got to be really careful about that. And so with that said, we have successfully landed our shuttle. Mission complete. Thank you everyone for popping into this live stream today. And Well, I guess we'll wait for the next release then for me to do another tutorial of this. Until then, we're going to go back to a regularly scheduled program of regular live streams, probably with more shuttle action. And you guys, thank you again for coming in. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you all next time.